When the beautiful Russian doctor Nina Reiser vanished more than a year ago, she was in the middle of a volatile 2-year divorce with her computer geek/genius husband, Hans. Nina's best friend, Ellen Doran, was a witness to those troubled times.
They just could not agree on how to raise the kids, and there were very, very many fights and conflicts.
But some believe that the honeymoon may have been over before it started. That's the picture painted now by Hans, his father, and their defense team, who say they knew a Nina no one else did, the real Nina.
She could be charming as could be. Every time I got the big, loving eyes and the wonderful smile, within minutes I had a huge lie and a request for something.
Clearly, Hans' father never liked her, but Hans certainly did.
I was a bit naive.
You were naive?
Yeah. Well, the objective evidence doesn't support what I believed at that time.
And what is that objective evidence?
She divorced me the day she became a citizen. Well, I don't know his exact day, but
Close enough.
same month. Close enough.
Hans's father is even harsher. He says the Russian gynecologist purposely got pregnant before the marriage.
So you think she trapped Hans?
Oh, there's no question. Nina is no virgin, and she comes to America. And she got all excited and forgot to take her birth control and got pregnant. Yeah.
But Hans says he fell in love with her almost at the first sight, that he wasn't trapped in any way, that he was head over heels.
This is where Hans is avoiding things. The phone call I got from Hans is, Dad, I got a real problem. She's pregnant. She says she'll abort the baby, and you know how I feel about that if we don't marry.
Early in the marriage, Hans's father began undercutting his daughter-in-law, telling his son that Nina, who ran the finances for the family computer business, was embezzling money.
I have yet to get him to admit how much Nina was cleaning out the money. Hans has never quite dealt with it. He was taken from the very get-go.
And then there is the other man in Nina's life. Ironically, he's the one dressed in women's clothes and spring hat at Hans and Nina's wedding. Hans's former best friend from childhood, Sean Sturgeon. This is what he looks like when not serving as a bridesmaid. An unassuming man who claims a dark and disturbing past as a prostitute, heavily involved in sadomasochism. He says he's reformed now, but he won't publicly talk until after the trial. He is talking to police. In fact, after Nina's disappearance, he made a bold confession. So outrageous, the authorities have not arrested him, and the judge won't allow it to be mentioned in court. Listen to this. He claims to be a serial killer, but not responsible for Nina's death. Hans believes Sean introduced Nina to drugs and exotic sex in a twisted act of revenge.
He offered to have a relationship with me. I said no, because I'm just not gay. He was jealous. And then later he saw me and Nina having this family. And I think he saw it as something that he couldn't have. And he decided to take it. When people feel rejected, they do crazy things. And
What did Sean do that was crazy?
I slept with my wife.
You've just heard the crux of the Hans Reiser defense. Nina was a gold digger, taking Hans for a ride to America. A bad, even wild person.
I've been trying to tell people this lady is arrogant and messing with S&M when that's the wrong crowd.
Well, my father turned out to be right about everything he said.
When he said that she was in it for money and a visa.
Well, that's what the facts look like, don't they?
Your father and others have said Nina ran away and is alive today.
Well, this is very reasonable.
Is that the real Nina? Would she do that? Well, that is just what Hans's defense attorney, William Dubois, hopes to convince the jury.
She could travel with any number of identities to any number of places in the world. The fact that she was gone wasn't a great surprise to Hans. What came down on him like a ton of bricks was the fact that the police suspected foul play and he was the primary suspect.
2020 traveled to St. Petersburg, Russia to meet Nina's family and talk to her mother, Irina, about the other side of the story. Because like in any bitter divorce, there are always two sides.
Did Nina marry Hans for a visa?
No. No.
Did Nina love Hans?
Yes. Yes, she did.
Nina's mother says her daughter was well educated and had a promising career ahead as a doctor. She just fell in love with the wrong man.
Он очень часто на нее кричал.
He often screamed at her if she spoke on the phone, if she was working with children, if she was talking with us on the phone. He was always unhappy with her.
Irina says her suspicions about her son-in-law grew darker after Nina disappeared.
2 weeks after Nina disappeared, I tried to get in touch with Hans. Not even a single time he answered my calls. I think if a man is not involved in something horrible, he will not be behaving this way.
As for those claims by Hans and his father that Nina was just a gold digger anxious to flee to America, both Irina and Ellen say nothing could be more ridiculous.
Nina's family is a very successful family of doctors. She's a third-generation doctor. They have a beautiful apartment in the middle of St. Petersburg. They've always had cars and a country house.
But what about Sean Sturgeon, who Nina had an affair with while her husband worked overseas? Why would the married mother of 2 take up with a man claiming to be a former S&M prostitute?
When Hans went to Russia, he presented Sean to Nina saying that this is my best friend. He's here to take care of you. Whatever you need, go ask Sean.
In fact, Sean told prosecutors that Nina only dabbled in S&M sex one time. He says she didn't like it, and it never happened again.
Did you ever worry that Sean was involved in Nina's disappearance?
Absolutely not. He loved her dearly.
Is Nina alive?
No.
And that must be hard for you to say.
Yes.
You don't think she disappeared on her own? Or she just decided to go back to Russia or to start a new life?
Absolutely not. She would be with her children.
Which brings us back to Hans, in jail, accused of murder.
We haven't talked about a woman who's been missing for a year and whether or not you're concerned about that at all.